He rode out of Louisiana territory, and with his gun slung low and his microphone held high, he brought truth to a savage land. And the legend grew. Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
All right, saddle up. We're going to be having some fun this hour on Gun Talk. I'm Tom Gresham. If you'd like to join us, it's easy. Give me a call at Tom Talk Gun. Told you it's easy. Tom Talk Gun, easy. We'll talk about, well, pretty much anything you want to talk about if it involves firearms, as long as we talk about using them safely and responsibly. Fair enough? No question is too dumb. And frankly, if you have just landed on this and you're going, what are these people? And you really, you kind of self-identify as a person who doesn't like guns. Okay, cool. Call me. Let's talk about it. Tell me why. I would be curious. 866-TALK-GUN. We'll get you in here. We're talking about the CEO of Levi Strauss. They're going to pay employees to volunteer for gun ban groups. Done. Done with you guys. This comes after, I think it was a year or so ago, they asked their customers to not bring their legally carried guns into Levi stores. Cool. Not a problem. I don't need to go into your stores anyway. And while there seems to be a growth of the anti-gun movement and a willingness on the part of people to do the virtuous signaling where they stand up and say, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm doing something about crime. Well, no, you're not, actually. But there's a willingness there. What you don't hear, what the media doesn't cover, are the stories about people who are actually doing things about gun safety, teaching gun safety, encouraging people to get involved in legal, safe shooting sports. Joining me right now is Charles Evans. He's a wildlife biologist and the R3 Coordinator for Georgia Wildlife Federation. Charles, thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.
All right. Well, first of all, explain what the R3 Coordinator is and what this program is we're talking about here.
Yeah, so I wish they would have come up with a better acronym, and I was not involved in that. But R3 is Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation. Okay. And essentially what that means is it's the process by which somebody ultimately self-identifies as a hunter or shooter or any outdoor activity. But this whole R3 movement got started because we've seen a downward participation trend in hunting since about the 1980s. Mm-hmm. And obviously that spells big trouble for wildlife conservation and conservation funding and a lot of the research that we're able to do. Not to mention, just sort of a primal, very human activity disappearing on us.
I think we probably at least ought to touch on that because you and I understand this, but a lot of people are saying, well, wait, did he just say that when hunting goes down, that's not good for wildlife? How does that work?
Yeah.
Explain that.
So let's definitely dive into that. And, I tell people I live in Athens, Georgia, which is a very culturally rich town and very diverse from a political standpoint and, people from all over the place. And so I tell them that I'm a wildlife biologist and I work in conservation. And then I tell them that I try to increase hunting participation, and they see it as this, it doesn't really make sense. But what happened was back in the 1800s, we had something going on in this country called market hunting. And market hunting was hunting for profit. People were going in and wiping out wildlife populations and selling the different parts of them, either selling the meat or selling the hides. And it was hunting for profit, and it really depleted a lot of the species. So early on, we started to get some people that banded together and really cared about this, and it just turns out that the only people that cared about wildlife populations going down were recreational hunters. So those were kind of considered the founding fathers of conservation, and I'm talking about people like Aldo Leopold, Theodore Roosevelt, and they came together and realized that we needed something special in North America, and specifically the United States, and we needed to protect and conserve our wildlife populations. And to do that, we needed funding. And in 1937, the Pittman-Robertson Act was passed, and that put an excise tax on guns and ammunition. It was later amended to include archery equipment. So now, today, when we go out and I go buy a gun or I go buy ammunition or a new bow or something, 11% comes off the top of that. It goes to the federal government, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and then it's reallocated to the states based on how many hunters we have, how many licensed hunters we have, and the land area of our state. So those funds are then brought into Georgia, which is where I'm from, based on the number of licensed hunters in the land area.
And 11%, I just want to say this, 11% is a huge tax, and I want to make sure people understand. It was hunters who said, we would like to be taxed. We would like for our guns and ammunition to be taxed so that we can use this money for this thing that we created, and hunters created the term conservation, to preserve wildlife. I know, and that's counterintuitive to some folks who don't understand that it's actually hunters who created the very term conservation. But it's hunters who continue to fund it to the tune of more than $3 million a day.
Yeah, and that's what's so special about it is it was essentially a voluntary tax. I mean, we voted this tax onto ourselves because that's how much hunters cared about wildlife and conservation. And so now the number of hunters directly relates to the quantity and quality of sporting opportunities that you have in the United States and in your specific state. And then, of course, it has other impacts as well. But it benefits game and non-game species. So it benefits everyone.
Well, that's a good point. And, for those who don't understand, when we say it benefits non-game species, because some people say, well, that's just vested interest. You just want more animals to hunt. You go, well, in some part, yes, and it's true that it's a vested interest. But if we provide 100,000 acres of habitat, it's not just deer and quail that are there, but it's, cranes and, songbirds and animals that are not hunted. It's habitat for all wildlife there.
Exactly. And a great example of that would be South Georgia, where we do a lot of quail management, but that's exactly the same thing as managing for gopher tortoises. So it's trying to get the landscape back to where it was originally, restoring the ecological integrity, and that benefits all species.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's do. I took too much time on this. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and I want to fast forward to this recruitment, retention, reactivation, and what's going on in this incredible program to build more hunters and get youngsters involved in the outdoor sports. We're talking with Charles Evans. He is a wildlife biologist from Georgia, and we'll fill in the blanks on this when we come back. 866-TALK-GUN.
Hey, this is Marty Daniel of Daniel Defense. For years, we've been bringing the highest quality ARs to our consumers at a great value. Now we're doing that same thing again with our Delta 5 bolt-action rifle. It combines the accuracy and durability we're known for with the modularity of our AR platform. And it comes with the features the best shooters will want right out of the box. Visit DanielDefense.com to learn more. Isn't it time you got a Daniel?
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
When someone leaves you their gun collection, you may want a few, but what do you do with the rest? How do you sell them? Who do you call? Well, I call Johnny Dury at Dury's Guns. Whether you're selling one gun or 500, they'll tell you what it's worth and write you a check. Simple, quick, easy, fair. I trust Dury's Guns. Give them a call. Dury'sGuns.com. All right, back with the 866 Talk Gun. We're talking with Charles Evans. Charles, I want to talk about this program that's going on at University of Georgia, and I guess it's Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation is involved in this as well. You want to kind of go over what's going on here?
Yeah, definitely. So this was part of our R3 initiative to try to increase hunting participation in shooting sports as it relates to that. And we were trying to figure out what audiences to target. You know, if we've only got around 5% of the United States that hunts, there's obviously a large pool of people out there that might have interest but have never had an avenue to pursue it. And people automatically jump to youth. Well, we need to target youth. Well, the issue with that is if I teach a kid how to hunt and I don't teach their parents, nobody can take them back out. They don't have transportation. Right. If we teach adults, they have authority in their own lives, they have transportation, they have discretionary income, most likely. Mm-hmm. And then they'll probably have kids one day of their own and bring them in through that natural process, which is how a lot of us learn how to hunt or shoot.
Okay.
So we were looking at these different audiences, and the first one we came up with was the food-focused audience, and we created this program called Field to Fork. And you might have seen it. It was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal not too long ago. And so it became very popular with this food-focused audience. We kind of took the success of that, and we started looking at what else is there that might have a large group of people focused in it, and they might have an interest in hunting. And colleges seemed like a great place to start. You know, a lot of the research that we have suggests that recreation levels peak in college.
Right.
Activities that are adopted, for better or worse, typically contribute to the identity of that individual throughout life. And then, you know, so hopefully that's hunting or shooting.
And also, it occurs to me that there's a real interest among college-age kids with adventure sports, and a lot of them understand that hunting qualifies as that.
Yeah, it can certainly qualify and it's a great activity to pick up, and we've seen a lot of interest in it, specifically in schools with natural resources programs like the University of Georgia and Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. So what we did, I work for the Georgia Wildlife Federation, which is an affiliate of the National Wildlife Federation, and we initially piloted this program at the University of Georgia. So we partnered up with the Quality Deer Management Association that's right here in Georgia, their national headquarters. Hank Forrester is their Hunting Heritage Programs Manager. And we kind of started this program at the University of Georgia a couple of years ago. Well, it was going well, but we saw the potential for expansion. And so through some help from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, who's been very on board with these R3 initiatives and extremely supportive, we were able to actually hire a couple of interns. Using funds from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, we hired interns on both campuses to carry out the on-the-ground implementation of these programs. So what we do is we go out and we recruit these college students that have an interest in hunting but came from a non-hunting family, and we put them through all of the firearm safety curriculum. We teach them how to shoot. We teach them about how hunting is conservation, and then we take them out and give them a hunting opportunity, and then, of course, a lot of follow-up opportunity as well. And so far, it's been a resounding success on both campuses.
That is terrific. It's such a great idea, and it folds together the conservation with hunting and gun safety and lifetime sports. It's really a win all the way across the board.
It is. It's certainly a win, and a lot of people, there's various reasons that people are attracted to it, but what we know from looking at the data is that public approval of hunting in general is highest when you look at it for the ecological reasons or for the food. And so we try to really harp on those. And a lot of these people that are coming into these programs might have even been anti-gun previously. I mean, they might have come from households where guns were shunned, and then they come into a program like this, and they learn how to properly use a firearm, and they become interested in owning one, and a lot of them are even purchasing firearms themselves afterwards.
That is terrific. Is there a central place where people can go for information on the whole program if they're thinking, God, I'd like to do this thing where I am?
Certainly. We have gwf.org/R3. That's the Georgia Wildlife Federation website, and we have a page up there that talks a little bit about it. And then they can always reach out to me through that website, and I'll provide them whatever information they want. Okay,
gwf.org/R3.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate that. It's a great program, and sounds like it's really taken off. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.
All right, you take care. All right, let's go to the phones. By the way, if you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN. Line 1, Chris is with us out of Reno, Nevada. Chris, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no, thank you, Tom. I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
I own a Savage BA-10 Stealth, and extremely happy with the accuracy of this gun. I mean, for across-the-counter gun, it's incredible, the accuracy. And I must have tried 10 different cartridges in this gun, and finally it was the American Eagle 140-grain open-tip match that gave me the best prints at 100 yards.
Okay.
And I found, and I've read about it in several magazines, where this round seems to work quite well in other rifles. My concern is that Federal quit producing this round last year. And it's such an extremely inaccurate cartridge. What happened?
I don't know specifically on that one. Generally speaking, you're almost always safe with the same answer. When people say, why did a company stop making X? And the answer is almost always because it didn't sell enough.
Well, that I understand. Being economics drives everything just about nowadays in America.
Right.
But for a cartridge that was so extremely popular in the shooting industry, especially for, the precision rifle shooting, and I just don't understand why Federal quit producing that American Eagle round.
I don't know. What was the difference? I'm just curious between that one and like the next best round for you in terms of accuracy.
Well, actually, there were a couple of other rounds that shot extremely well. My gun did not like the Hornady 140-grain or the 147-grain ELD, but
right.
It liked the 120-grain ELD for some reason, and also Norma, the 130-grain match that shot very well. But everything else, was well over a half inch, under an inch, of course, but nothing approaching the consistency and accuracy of the American Eagle 140-grain OTM.
And of course, now the problem is you have to go back and say, okay, now I got to start over and find, assuming you're not going to hand load, which it sounds like you're looking for factory loads, you got to go find something else that will, maybe work as well. And that's a lot of, for those who don't know, who haven't done this before, it's actually a fair amount of work. Not that it's hard or not that it is, bad, horrible work, but it takes a lot of time to go out to the range and shoot for groups, shoot for accuracy, let the barrel cool, keep the records, do all of that. If you're going to do it the right way, it's a morning or an afternoon at the very least to try a half a dozen different rounds or loads, isn't it?
Yes, and I certainly agree with what you're saying. I was fortuitous. I was able to find two other cartridges that shot fairly well in the rifle also. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to go through that learning curve again. But it just surprises me that Federal, on a very popular round, 6.5 Creedmoor, and several of the magazines can't speak highly enough of that American Eagle 140-grain OTM, and then Federal drops it.
Yeah, it's bizarre. We've all had that happen. I'm reminded of on the fishing side, people say, look, if you find a lure that really works for you, go out and buy a dozen of that same lure, because sure enough, they're going to stop making it. And I think that's true sometimes for ammo. Just when you find something that really works in your rifle, go load up on it. Just get you a bunch. I'm sorry it happened to you, but I appreciate you passing it along, and I wish you luck with it. And thank you, Chris. I appreciate the call. Let me get to Rita on line 2 out of Casper, Wyoming for just a second here. Rita, thank you, and welcome to Gun Talk.
Hi. I got a question for you. I live in Wyoming, which is, we have concealed carry is legal, you know. And you don't have to get any permits or anything like that. But I have been thinking about getting one, like if I go to Montana in the summer or Colorado or something.
Right. But
I've got mixed feelings about, I don't want to draw attention to myself, like if the liberals and the Democrats get their way about gun control, then they, you know, have my number, and I don't know whether to forget it or just what. What do you advise?
Well, I would advise you, if you're committed to carrying and for your own protection, I would say go ahead and get your permit in Wyoming, so then it'll be good in a lot of different states. One of the things that will come with that is you'll get some training that's good. I wouldn't worry about the whole deal about being on a list. We're all on a list somewhere. If you're buying ammo, if you bought a gun, there are ways they can track it. I think it's more important to take care of yourself. Do you work on a personal level to make sure that you're safe. Also, getting the training for the carry permit is not a bad thing. And that way when you carry, here's the other thing. When you carry in other states, be sure you understand that their laws may be different from Wyoming's laws in terms of where you can carry into bars or, different places. So you have to learn about that as well. For those who don't know, it's a great website, handgunlaw.us. That's singular. handgunlaw.us. It has all the information about reciprocity and where your permit's good and what the laws are in various states. I use it all the time. 866-TALK-GUN. When you travel, do you take your carry gun with you? I'd like to know that one. 866-TALK-GUN.
Honey, does this holster make me look fat?
The right answers to the tough questions on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
We were just talking about the excise tax on guns and ammunition. And just got this email from a listener. David says, I'm not a hunter. I'm personally not interested in killing game, but that is my choice for me. It says, as long as you eat what you shoot, I've got no problem with that. Okay, cool. He says, but I believe I still pay the taxes on my guns and ammo. He asks, is that correct? That is correct. The 11% excise tax on guns and ammo applies across the board, not just for hunting. It actually has been applied to archery and I think for some optics as well. And if you're just a shooter, you don't hunt, you're thinking, well, I don't know if I like that. Well, here's the thing. The money is also used to fund the building and maintenance of public shooting ranges. So the Pittman-Robertson money, 11% excise tax on ammo and guns, is used for wildlife, for habitat restoration, for hunters. I think it's for hunter safety as well. It's hunter safety training, and certainly for building and maintaining shooting ranges. So this is a good thing. This is, and once again, a lot of people don't understand it's hunters who pay for conservation. They say, well, we should just do away with hunting. Really? Where are you going to get the money to replace the funds that hunters spend with their excise taxes and with their license fees that provides habitat, that provides research, that takes care of not just the animals that we hunt, but all the animals that live on all of that habitat out there? Well, I know. You don't want to talk about that. I don't know why that is. They never want to talk about that. It's kind of bizarre land. Let's see here. Line 1, Tom's with us out of Delta, Utah. Hello, Tom. You're working on these red flag laws, I take it.
Yeah, I've sent off to Lindsey Graham, Feinstein, Cruz, and different states that are even Utah was putting one in. And what I told them is that there's no such thing as a gimme law, but there's due process and ex post facto. And if you're going to have a red flag law, which is halfway decent, but you got to enforce it with proof, not come up to your house and said, you're nuts. Well, how do you know? Because we say you are. And if you have an accuser, then by law, you go into court, your accuser's got to face you.
Well, that's the way it should work. I mean, it's called due process. What we're talking about, because you're not aware, that in a number of states are passing these red flag laws, and actually it's been introduced in the U.S. Congress. What it is a gun confiscation law where somebody, law enforcement officer, a family member, a former wife, former husband, former girlfriend, it's starting to get interesting now, right? Can call and say, well, he said this, or he threatened this. Sometimes it's just the old get back deal. And a judge can issue an order to take away your guns. You don't even know about it. You haven't been able to present your information in front of the court. There's no due process. And people say, well, people who are crazy shouldn't be allowed to have guns. Okay, let's go with that for a second. It is currently the law in the United States of America, if you have been adjudicated as mentally incompetent, if a judge has ruled you to be mentally incompetent, you may not own guns. That's the part that's often left out. Now, whether it's left out accidentally or it is omitted on purpose from the news articles about this, I don't know, I suspect. But it is currently law that if you have been adjudicated as mentally incompetent, you may not own a gun in the United States of America. So we already have that law. So what's this really all about? I think it's just one more step in being able to set it up where people can make a call and say, I don't like this person. Talk about power. If you think there's power in being offended, and there is, I mean, really, being offended is a choice, and it's also irrelevant. But there's power in being offended, is why you hear this all the time. I'm offended. We must do something because people were offended. Really? Well, what if you have the power to make a phone call and have the police go and take guns away from people at gunpoint? Oh, yeah, don't forget that part. They send people with guns to take away your guns. We've already had one guy get killed doing this because the police showed up at his house at 5 a.m. banging on the door. He naturally, I would call it a natural reaction, somebody's banging on my door at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm going with a gun in my hand. He got killed by the police. Interesting. Did they take that into account or do they just not care? I think maybe they don't care. I think they don't care if good gun owners, but they would say there's no such thing. I don't think they care if good gun owners get killed. I honestly don't. I think they think that's just one less problem out there. Red flag laws are a lack of due process. They should be unconstitutional. Don't know if that'll end up getting ruled that way. We'll see. But it's ugly. It really is. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking about the bump stock ban, which goes into effect in 16 days. March 26th. If you have a bump stock, you are required to destroy it or turn it in. But there are a bunch of lawsuits making their way through the court. Well, what should you do? Should you get rid of it? Should you destroy it? Should you turn it in? Or should you just wait and see how this works out? We'll be talking about that in a few minutes. If you'd like to join the conversation, 866-TALK-GUN. Question for you. When you travel, do you generally take your carry gun with you, whether it's in the car or even on the airlines, obviously checking your gun and having it available to you when you get there? How long have you been doing that, and how's it been working for you? 866-TALK-GUN.
It's America's favorite .22 rifle. No matter how, where, or what you like to shoot, there's a Ruger 1022 for you. From the carbine to the incredible takedown models, the tactical and target versions, all Ruger 1022 models have the legendary action and detachable 10-round rotary magazine. Whether you're hunting squirrels or tin cans, there's a lifetime of fun in every Ruger 1022 rifle. See them all at Ruger.com. That's Ruger.com.
Tired of searching the web for the best deals on guns, ammunition, and gear? Download the free Gun Dealio app today for deals and discounts right at your fingertips. Handguns, rifles, shotguns, ammo, optics, lasers, gun safes, targets, gun cleaners, grips, slings, and much, much more. Save money on products you want from the companies you love. New deals, discounts, and rebates added daily. Gun Dealio, available for free in the App Store and Google Play.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at ShopGunTalk.com. Get prepared. ShopGunTalk.com.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
All right, back with you. You know, I'm not going to do my regular read here. I just got this email. It just popped up. I'm not kidding, just while we're doing the show. He says, thanks for reading my Blink camera range report on the air. He says, just to close the loop on the video, it led to this arrest. This is Richard sent me this range report. He said, this morning at 2:50 a.m., one of my Blink cameras alerted me to motion in my driveway. Didn't capture the face of the guys prowling around the car, but still gave me something to provide the police. And now he sends me a copy of this letter he got from the district attorney, and it says the office has filed a criminal case charging the above-named juvenile with the following: trespass, auto with intent to commit crime, violation of bail bond conditions, felony, obstructing a police officer, trespass 2, motor vehicle, theft, goes on, because he had a Blink camera. I mean, and you know the drill. I mean, we've talked about, I love my Blink cameras. I really do. I use them all the time. I mean, the Blink cameras, they have motion detection. They record video. You can go check it anywhere you want to from anywhere, using the smartphone app, the Blink camera phone app. It's pretty darn cool, basically. You know, no contracts, no subscriptions. It's easy to install. Hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. They're doing a special sale. And by the way, these sales run for a week or two at a time. So don't waste time. Don't dilly-dally. You got to do this thing when it's out there. Right now, the Blink Outdoor XT camera systems are an impressive 20% off, but you got to hurry. This ends March 16th at midnight Eastern. March 16th. Visit blinkprotect.com/sale. Pay attention here. blinkprotect.com/sale. That'll get you in. Blink is an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. Richard, thank you so much for that range report. I do love our range reports. By the way, if you've been to the range shooting a new gun, old gun, or new types of ammo, love to know about it. Also, is your snow gone? Do you shoot in the winter, or do you take a break? I remember up in Alaska, the trap shooters, I mean, they're out there, trap and skeet shooters, they're out there doing their thing. Well, why wouldn't you? Season lasts a long time, and you don't want to stop shooting. Are there any special provisions you have to make? Gloves, hand warmers. What do you do? I'll tell you, one of the things I like is a lot of times in the winter, you get these, if you get a nice day with some sunshine. I'm looking out across the snow right now. You get a day where there's no wind. Oh, man, it's nice. It's quiet, and it's calm. And I have done so much shooting in the summer in the South where sometimes, quite literally, if you put a black gun out on the bench and the sun's shining on it, you cannot pick it up. It's so hot. We've used our infrared thermometers on these black guns, and we're looking at 130 to 140 degrees when they sit there. Actually, sometimes you have to cover them up with towels or something when they're laying out. That was certainly true in Louisiana, but it was really true in Arizona. I don't know why that much difference, but it seemed to be even hotter there. Something to be aware of. If you have developed your hand loads in cold temperatures, you're out there shooting in the winter, okay, and you're pushing, the limits. It's a safe load, but it's a max load. But you're shooting at 20 degrees or 10 degrees. In the summer, you go shoot at 90 degrees or 100 degrees, and especially if the gun is sitting out there for a while, it's getting hotter and hotter. Or especially if you're shooting, say, a semi-auto, you shoot it a bunch of times, and the chamber's getting hot, the barrel's getting hot, and the next round sits in there and it gets hot, hot, hot. You can have, as we call it, pressure excursions. In other words, your pressures are quite a bit higher because the chemical reaction of the powder burning is faster. I mean, if you remember this from your basic chemistry classes, right? So it actually can be unsafe. It can actually be unsafe. There are some powders, and it's worth checking if you're doing reloading. Some powders are less sensitive to temperature extremes, and they actually develop them with that in mind. Now, if you're always shooting at a particular temperature, it's not a big deal. But if you go from one temperature to another, and certainly if you develop your loads when it's cold, and then you're shooting when it's hot, that could be a thing. But the other thing can work as well. You can go develop your loads in the middle of the summer, and it's 90 or 100 degrees. And then you go hunt somewhere out west, say, or you're going to Saskatchewan. I mean, if you're hunting whitetails in Saskatchewan, and the temperature is minus 15, not unusual at all, going after those monster whitetails they have there. And the temperature is now minus 15. What's going to happen to the trajectory? What's going to happen to the velocity of your load? It's colder. Yeah. It's going to be slower. You're going to have more drop. Is it going to be a factor? I don't know. But it might be worth asking if your particular load, if you're using different kinds of powders. It's one of the reasons, honestly, when you get to where you're going, and a lot of people don't do this, and I don't know why. When you get to where you're going, you're going to be hunting, you get to camp, try any way you can to at least get a couple of shots sighting in. One, to make sure your rifle's still shooting where it's supposed to, that the airline travel hasn't bumped the scope or changed anything. But also, if it's a bunch colder, if the temperatures are different, you might find out that you're not shooting to the same point of impact. And I know people say, well, we're in the hunting area now, we don't want to shoot. Well, yeah, I know, but knowing that your rifle shoots where it's supposed to is critical. And one or two shots generally is not going to put the game off, and it's worthwhile. Some hunting guys go, no, we just got to go hunting. I go, no, we're going to take 15 minutes, we're going to take 20 minutes, I'm going to sight in my rifle. I'm going to make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. Do you sight in your rifle? You check the sighting in when you go on your hunts. 866-TALK-GUN. Looking for your range reports? Give me a holler. Tom Talk Gun. I had an interesting conversation in the last couple of days with a fellow. He said, I don't care about bump stocks. I don't own them. He said, but I finally figured out this is not really about bump stocks. It's about another step about taking away our guns and our gun rights. And at that point, he says, I started to care. We'll talk about that in a few minutes and talk about where we are with the lawsuits trying to stop this ban on bump stocks. Let's see. Line one, Kenneth's with us. Charlottesville. Hey, Kenneth, what's going on here?
Well, I've got an issue that I've noticed with handguns. When I have a hammer-fired handgun, if I'm dry and firing and I squeeze the trigger, everything stays lined up. But on the striker-fired handguns I have, I'm a right-handed shooter. I noticed that I twitch the gun when I squeeze the trigger just slightly to the right on the striker-fired guns, and I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong or why it's occurring.
And this is when you're dry firing.
Right. Yep.
That's weird because you'd think you would be able to press the trigger well with anything if you're dry firing because you're not worried about the recoil. Here's a question for you. Where on your finger does the blade of the trigger, the actual trigger, touch? I mean, specifically, you don't want it in the joint. You want it out there on the pad of the finger.
Yep, and I'm pretty conscientious about doing that. And it doesn't happen on every striker-fired gun. Some of the Gen 5 Glocks I have, I don't notice it. But like all of my Gen 4s, Gen 3s, I notice the gun has just enough, enough slight. If I keep my, eyeball on the front sight like you're supposed to,
right.
I notice I twitch it just ever so slightly, to the right when I squeeze the trigger.
That's just puzzling to me because I'm not sure. I mean, I'm thinking if you're dry firing and you're got a hard focus on that front sight, I would. Here's a question. Just trying to think what's going on here. Do you think it's possible that the actual striker going forward and clicking is moving the gun as opposed to you doing it with your trigger pull?
Because you're having the striker under tension before it releases, it's causing my hand to...
I don't think that's it, but I'm just trying to figure it out. Otherwise, I'm not figuring out a way that makes any sense because you clearly you know what you're doing. You're working on this, and you understand a press of the trigger. You're not jerking it. You're just trying to ease it back until it goes off. No anticipation. You shouldn't be moving it.
If I try it with my offhand, my left hand, which is kind of uncomfortable for me anyway because I'm right-handed, I don't do it with my left hand, only with my right hand.
I'm going to suggest something that's going to sound really weird. Okay, try getting a different type of grip. Change your grip a little bit. You shoot right-handed?
Yes. Yep.
Move your right hand, grip it so that you're either rotating your hand clockwise or counterclockwise around the grip ever so slightly, trying to put the trigger. It may be, ideally what you would like is for your trigger to be moving straight backwards. And it may be with that particular grip of that gun that it's putting your trigger finger at a different angle, and that may be what's going on.
Right. And this might sound weird, but because you wouldn't hold the gun like this, but if I take my thumb and stick my thumb straight out, I don't do it. It's only when I'm, have my thumb wrapped around the grip as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually telling me something there. Yeah, what's going on is the grip itself. Apply more pressure with your left hand than with your right hand. Try to get your left hand to actually have more pressure on the gun than your right hand does to free up your trigger finger so that's actually the right hand is not gripping the gun so tightly. So increase the pressure with the left hand, decrease the pressure, the grip strength with the right hand. Try that. See how it works. After you do that, give us a holler back in a week or two. Let us know how it works out, okay? Hey, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the bump stock ban. What's going on with it? Is it going to go through? I mean, it is law right now, but it's being challenged in court, and we're going to find out how likely that is to stop it.